back, YouTube. Thanks for coming by my YouTube channel once again. We're going to do a radiator thermostat in this IS300 Lexus. Before doing any work on your vehicle, remove the positive terminal. So here's a problem with the stock radiator. The plastic went from black to brown, and there's an obvious split right here. It's only leaking a little bit, but you shouldn't even let it get this bad. If this plastic starts changing colors from the nice dark black to anything other than black, change your radiator, please. Last thing you want to do is be stuck on the freeway when it's like 100 degrees outside and overheat your car, and you can warp your head and all kinds of other problems. So just pay attention. Alright, so here's the thermostat part number. That's the Gates 33798, and then this is a Felpro. Well, I guess it's a different brand, but they give a cross-reference number for a Felpro gasket, 35445 Felpro, and that's this O-ring that you have to put around the thermostat. This is the top radiator hose. This is the short one. Here is the bottom hose part number. This is also AC Delco. To drain this, first thing we want to do, obviously, take off the top, the cap, and then we're gonna remove this air scoop. So what I'm gonna do is, this is a 10mm here, and then I'm gonna pop off the top lid here for the air filter, like so. And then once that's off, that 10mm is pretty much all that's holding it inside of this loop, so you can get in here and push it out. Just gives you a better range. His air filter is nasty too, so we'll probably just chuck that in at the same time we're doing all this. Now grab a decent size set of pliers, squeeze this clamp and the clamp in the back, move them off, and then yank off that hose. So it should look like that before you pull off the hose. Just pull out this little flexible hose from the right corner. In order to make life easier, I'm going to remove the air box. So there's one on the left, one over on the right, and then farther towards the top you have another 10mm holding it on. Unplug the mass airflow sensor, loosen the clamp going to the intake pipe, unbolt that sensor from the air box in order for that to be free. There's a vacuum line attached to the bottom of the air box. Take that off, and then lastly you're going to have all these clips here, one there, and there's another one down there. So get all three of those detached. Now go around the edges and remove all 10mm bolts that hold the fans securely to the radiator. So there's one there so far and two there. Unplug any and all fan plugs or sensor plugs, all of them that you can find, unplug. Unclip the wiring harness from the fan shroud. So once you have them unplugged, they're clipped in. Unclip it. Just like the top hose, you're going to use pliers. Take this clamp off so we can remove the bottom hose from the engine. Use a 10mm socket or wrench to remove the bolt that holds the two clamps that hold the radiator to the car. There's one on each side. We need to remove this undercover, and there's a whole bunch of 10mm bolts all the way around holding it up. Take them all out. Now you can get a drain pan. It'll come out of this here. Turn this white plug counterclockwise and you can drain your radiator. Now that the radiator is drained, go take all these 10 millimeters out, take a pair of pliers, and remove the bottom hose. To the right of the bottom hose, you have one sensor. Unplug it. So we need to pull out the whole radiator together. Oh my God, look at that. So here's the old radiator. Here's the new one. The only difference is he accidentally bought the automatic version. There's the fittings for the tranny lines. So I'm just going to remove those. That's not a huge deal. But it looks much better from this side. Let me show you what the other side looks like. So here's the front side. That faces the grill. Old and new. You tell me which one's which. Go ahead and remove this sensor from the bottom corner. And since I'm reusing the old sensor and this is an old O-ring, I'm going to take some Right Stuff RTV sealant. I'm going to put it on the threads. And then I'm going to thread this back into the brand new radiator. Once you screw it in, give it some time to dry. Verify that the new drain plug is tight. Now we're going to remove the thermostat. To get to that, you need to take the two 10 millimeter bolts that hold this water neck on. Here's the old and new thermostat side by side. Looks to be like that is the factory thermostat from like 140,000 miles. To reinstall the thermostat, you're going to first seat it into the water neck like so. Then you get the little 10 millimeter nuts. You push this back onto the motor and then hand thread on the two nuts and then torque them down. Now because this has an O-ring, you're going to want to do a few turns on each side. Do not torque down one side all the way and then torque the other. Go back and forth and do a turn or two and then go to the other side, a turn or two, back and forth. Once you've cleaned up the fan shroud, because it's probably nasty, go ahead and bolt it back to the radiator. Since you're in here, you might as well just change your serpentine belt. It's only like 22 bucks, 26 bucks, something like that. You just put a socket or a wrench or whatever on here. You torque it down. It'll slide this way. And then you can put the belt on and off. Now you can go ahead and slide the radiator and the fan assembly back in. Use the 10 millimeter bolt and this bracket on both sides and tighten them down. So the hose we have is a little bit long, so we're going to have to trim it to fit correctly. Probably somewhere about there, so we're going to have to take out about 3/4 of an inch on this side and 1 inch on this side. After you cut it, it should fit pretty good. I suggest using real clamps instead of the factory pinchy ones. And slide this little hose back on and move over this clamp to fit. Now put the lower hose back on, tighten the clamps. The 90-degree bend on the hose is going to be on the engine side. Now reinstall your air box the same way you took it apart and plug back in your mass airflow sensor. Reinstall this little dicky-doo thing like so. Plug this sensor back in here. If I can actually find out how to do it. There we go. Should click. And now we're done under here. At this point, we should be able to dump 1 gallon in using a funnel. We are almost ready to drop the car, but we need to put that cover back on. So go ahead, put that cover back on, and then we can drop the car back on the ground. P.S. Don't forget to plug in the radiator fans. That would be a bad day. Once the car is level and you have the antifreeze coming out like that, well, an air pocket just went away. Anyways, we're gonna start it, let it idle, and we're gonna keep letting it idle and adding and idle and adding until all the air bubbles stop coming out. So I found it works best if the car is on a incline where the nose is higher than the motor. Then this becomes the highest point of the whole system, and the air will come out quicker and the fluid will go in the engine a little better than if it was the other way around, where the radiator was lower. You could have an air pocket stuck in the back of the engine. So just keep filling it up, letting it idle until the thermostat opens, and that will open up a bunch of air to come through. And then as soon as the bubbles stop, put the cap on, fill up your overflow to the middle point where it wants it, and that's all we got to do. Thanks for coming, everybody. Once you got all the bubbles out, you should be great. So I hope this helped you guys. Until next time, wrench on.